people of Reddit who knew celebrities before they were famous, how different do they act now? I live in the town where Dolly Parton grew up, and practically everyone above the age of 50 who grew up here claims to either be a distant relative of Dolly's, or they claim to know her in some way. Everyone has their story of the time they met Dolly. It's pretty obvious, but regardless of who you talk to, Dolly has always been sweet and generous, but everything has simply grown exponentially due to her fame. Examples are the millions of books she gives out for free to children around the globe each month, or how she gave out $10,000 cash to many of my close friends after their houses burned in a fire a couple of years back. Thousands of people are employed here and work for one of the businesses she owns, and it's a tad strange to see when you walk in, but the birthing center at the local hospital is funded by and named after her. I honestly can't think of one person I know who doesn't like her. Dolly's heart has only gotten bigger because of fame. I went to school with Rupert Grint, Ron Weasley from Harry Potter. I was into acting too, so we had done a few school plays together. He was really nice, very chill, a good laugh. I haven't seen him since school days, but he kept coming to classes whenever he wasn't filming, was always happy to chat about the movies. Sometimes he'd need a little break from so many people wanting to talk, and would come and hang out in the library, and honestly, you'd never know he was in the biggest film series at the time. Honestly, I think a lot of these answers boil down to if they want fame or not. Rupert loved what he was doing, but didn't care about being famous and having people kiss his arse. Just a nice normal kid. He used to live in a town not too far from me. Everyone seemed to think he was a recluse and a bit of a moody prick, but I think, like you said, it can be tiring having people come up to you all the time, and he probably reasonably wanted some quiet for himself. A bit of the casting was done not far from where I grew up, the Weasley twins and Draco. My sister's claim to fame was that she once sat at a table in school that Tom Felton, Draco, had scratched his name into. A table at school that Tom Felton, Draco, had scratched his name into. Crumb just rolled over in his sleep unexpectedly and mumbled something about Grindelwald's mark. My mom used to ride the bus to work in downtown Cleveland with Steve Harvey's first wife. Apparently she supported him while he was trying to get his career started. And then basically as soon as he got successful he divorced her for a younger woman. My mom always hated him because she felt that he treated his first wife like shit and always yells bastard at the TV when he pops up. Edit, thanks for the gold. I told my mom that the internet likes her and hates Steve Harvey, so you've made her day. I've never heard a story about Steve Harvey that makes him seem like even a slightly good person. I know a number of people who've worked on his TV show who don't have very nice things to say about him, other than he's hilarious when they're doing breaks for production. Apparently he's a cologne man as well. My buddy used to tell me he's in the building because you could smell him 100 feet away. Honestly, he has that vibe. Older people tend to put too much on anyhow for whatever reason, but he always seemed to me to be one of those dudes who leaves a scent trail. Some people leave their mark on the world. Others leave a stain. A friend of mine is buddies with Paul Rudd. Says he's exactly the same and a great human. Exactly the same because he hasn't aged at all in like 20 years. Jack Black is the same person he was as a teenager, funny, kind, caring, and spreading that joy of music. Fun fact, Jack Black used to put wires up his sleeves when he was a kid in the hopes that other kids would notice them poking out and think he was bionic. I put wires up my sleeve and I wanted the wires just to peek out a little bit so that if any kids noticed my wires I would say, it's nothing, it's nothing. They would think I was bionic, because my logic was that I was trying to hide my bionics from them. What guy? That's like the next level of when you're 7 with your mom at the grocery store and bored out of your mind, so you pull your arms into your shirt and pretend you're an amputee and hope people will notice. I convinced my parents to buy me a fake cast from a Halloween store when I was about 11. I insisted on sitting with my broken arm resting on the open window, hoping someone would look at the poor kid with the broken arm. I don't think I've ever told anyone that before, and I feel just a tiny bit insane now. In my mid-teens, I, a girl, would sit staring off poignantly into the distance whenever my crush was around, because fiction taught me moody, mysterious girls were attractive. My grandpa Rip owned a grocery store in Miami in the late 70s. Wesley Snipes and his friends once stole some candy from his store, and when he caught them he let them have it. Since then Wesley and his friends were regulars. Once, Wesley left his bike in front of the store and it got stolen. Was a pretty bad area. My grandpa gave him his old bike that he kept in the back of the store. My uncle took over in 2001 when my grandpa died. In 2007 he came back to the store while my uncle and cousin were there, to ask about my grandpa. My uncle said they talked for a little over an hour about how my grandpa treated him like a son. When he found out my grandpa passed he felt guilty he didn't visit sooner. He embraced my uncle and cousin and left. My uncle said he told him they plan on having the building repainted while they talked. About a week later a crew of painters arrived and told my uncle they were already paid to have the building repainted. Such a genuine dude. Edit, sorry I haven't been able to reply to everyone, but thank you guys so much for love. Even though Hess often portrayed negatively, glad to see that people still try to find the best in us, even it's a small gesture. This is awesome. You hear so much about how disconnected he is and just smokes a ton, but it's nice to hear he remembers those who helped him in the past. I haven't read up on it in a while, but I think it was Ricky Gervais who pointed this out. If you look into the Wesley Snipes tax scandal, you will find he actually didn't do anything wrong. He was getting robbed by his money manager, and when he went to the authorities to report it, the liability for unpaid taxes still fell on Wesley Snipes. Pretty messed up. The media just reported Snipes goes to prison for tax evasion. Not personally, but everyone in my town has a Dave Chappelle story. I worked with a guy who said he knew him. I called BS. We then met Dave and then they were actually friends. Basically no one in town thought he would be much. Now he is a local hero, really down to earth. You literally see this man just chilling in the park in normal cheap clothes. Nothing has changed him. You wouldn't think he was famous. Maybe homeless but not famous. Edit, I should have said wrinkled clothes like he fell asleep then just woke up and left. I didn't see any logos and brands. People seem upset I said cheap clothes. I have no clue as to what he was wearing. Still super nice guy. You wouldn't think he was famous. I love Dave's comedy. But what I love even more is that he seems to be a great guy underneath it all. Like that time a couple was scammed for their tickets, and he came and greeted them and gave them new tickets for free. Also, he doesn't give a shit about what anyone says, like ever. Except for when someone is being nice. My grandfather taught Jack Nicholson in high school math class. Said he was rebellious but wasn't too bad at math. Maths teachers care more about the numbers than the rebellion. If you look at them Jewish right, rebellion can be found in the numbers. A close family friend was best friends with Tom Cruise before he got famous. I didn't believe her and she showed me pictures they have taken together, like a Vegas road trip, camping, etc. He was really awesome, but as soon as he got an ounce of fame it went to his head and he became very arrogant and a fame whore. Don't forget occultist. That came later. She could have been cult leader. Opportunity missed. I had a friend in high school whose cousin is Kendrick Lamar. He said Kendrick's pretty much still the same guy, acts the same around friends and family, just with millions of dollars now. My aunt was best friends with Madhu and in high school, stayed friends until she got famous and she turned into a completely different person in the worst way possible. So you say your aunt knew her pre-Madonna and pre-prima donna Madonna. Found the BoJack Horseman writer. I could hear Princess Carolyn say this. My coworker's dad grew up with Queen Latifah in North Jersey. His whole family loves her because they were about to lose their house, so she paid it off for them. They've never said a bad thing about her. Queen Latifah, if this gets back to you, thanks for what you did for your friends in NJ. Phil's a really cool guy. I can't remember before my aunt was famous. Alex Kingston played River Song in Doctor Who, but I remember going to her wedding and meeting Matt Smith, who played the Doctor in Doctor Who, and him fixing my flip-flop, the best moment of my life ever. You're Alex Kingston's niece-nephew. That's awesome. I've never seen her in a role in which I didn't instantly love her ever since her, and I was very excited when I learned she'd be River Song because I knew she'd make things interesting. Wonderful actress, and one of my favorites.